The rain hammered against the gallery windows like accusations. Amara stared at the gold-trimmed envelope in her trembling hands, her reflection fragmented in the glass. A Nigerian woman alone in a Korean city that never quite felt like home. "Open it," her roommate Chisholm urged from the couch, her voice careful, already knowing this would hurt. Amara's thumb slid under the seal. The invitation was heavy, expensive. Cream cardstock with embossed lettering. "Daniel Park and Kim Soyeon request the honor of your presence." Her stomach dropped. 6 months. It had only been 6 months since he'd left her standing outside his family's restaurant, explaining that his parents would never accept her, that he had to marry someone Korean, someone they could be proud of. "There's a note," Amara whispered, unfolding the small card tucked inside. Daniel's handwriting. She'd recognize it anywhere, the careful loops he'd practiced to look more American. "It would mean a lot if you came. You'll always be special to me." "Special," Amara said, her voice cracking. "I'm special." Like a fucking souvenir he picked up and discarded when it stopped being exotic. Chisholm was beside her instantly. "Don't go. Burn it. Pretend you never got it." But Amara was already shaking her head, something hard forming in her chest. For 6 months she'd hidden. 6 months of avoiding the coffee shop they used to frequent, of changing her route to university to dodge the restaurant, of lying to her mother on video calls that yes, she was fine, yes, Korea was treating her well. "I'm going," Amara said. "I'm going to walk in there with my head up and show him that he didn't break me." "And how exactly are you going to do that?" Chisholm asked. "Show up alone to your ex-boyfriend's wedding looking desperate?" Amara didn't have an answer. Not yet. The next morning, she was late for her shift at the Modern Art Gallery in downtown Busan. The exhibition was opening in 3 days, and she was supposed to be helping set up the contemporary Korean artists section. She'd been up all night, alternating between rage painting and crying, and now she was running through the rain with a portfolio under her arm and mascara probably streaking down her face. She didn't see him until she'd already collided with him. The impact sent her portfolio flying, sketches scattering across the wet pavement. "Shit, shit, shit," she muttered, dropping to her knees, trying to salvage the watercolors before they dissolved completely. "I'm sorry, I wasn't looking." His voice was low, measured. Korean accent but perfect English. "Clearly," Amara snapped, not looking up. Then she saw his shoes. Expensive. Italian leather, probably custom. Her eyes traveled up. Tailored black suit, perfectly pressed. Corporate. Wealthy. Exactly the type of Korean man who would look right through her. But when she finally met his eyes, he wasn't looking through her. He was looking at her, really looking, with an expression she couldn't quite read. Something between curiosity and recognition. "These are good," he said, picking up one of her sketches. A charcoal study of hands. "You're talented." Amara snatched it from him. "Thanks for the assessment. Can you move?" He didn't. Instead, he crouched down, helping her gather the papers, carefully shaking water off each one. "You're going to the Modern Gallery?" "How did you?" Then she saw him glance at her employee badge, partially visible under her jacket. "I'm heading there too," he said. "I'm Kong Minwo. My family is one of the sponsors." Of course they were. Amara recognized the name now. Kong Technologies. One of the biggest tech conglomerates in South Korea. She'd seen his face in the gallery brochures, standing stiffly beside his father at last year's opening. "Amara," she said grudgingly. "Amara is Nigerian." She bristled. "Yes. Problem?" "No," he said simply. "Just observing." They walked to the gallery in awkward silence, Minwo matching her pace with an umbrella he'd produced from nowhere, holding it carefully to cover both of them. When they reached the entrance, the wedding invitation slipped from her portfolio, landing between them. Minwo picked it up before she could stop him, his eyes scanning the elegant script. Something shifted in his expression. "Daniel Park," he said. "I know him. Business associate of my father's." Amara felt her face burn. It's nothing. Just. You're still going? Minwo asked, and there was no judgment in his voice, only something that sounded like understanding. That takes courage. Or foolishness, Amara finished. Yeah, I've heard. I was going to say determination, Minwo said. He handed the invitation back, their fingers brushing briefly. But maybe they're the same thing. Inside the gallery, Amara tried to focus on her work, but she kept catching glimpses of Minwo across the exhibition space. He moved through the gallery with the practiced ease of someone who'd grown up in these spaces, shaking hands, making small talk. But there was something off about him, something that didn't quite fit. The way his smile never reached his eyes. The way he kept gravitating back to the art instead of the people. During her lunch break, she found him in the back gallery, the one not yet open to the public. He was sketching in a small notebook, completely absorbed. She recognized the technique immediately, the loose, expressive lines of someone who actually understood art, not someone dabbling as a hobby. You draw, she said. He jumped, nearly dropping the notebook. For a second, she saw panic in his eyes, genuine, unguarded fear. Then the mask slid back into place. Sometimes. When I can. You're good, Amara said, moving closer. He tried to close the notebook, but she'd already seen. He was drawing the sculpture in front of them, but he'd reimagined it. Freer, more dynamic. Really good. Why aren't you? My family thinks art is a waste of time, Minwo said, his voice flat. According to my father, I should be focused on business. On the company. On. He stopped, seeming to catch himself. On what your family wants instead of what you want, Amara finished. Their eyes met, and suddenly the air felt different. Charged. Is that why you're going to the wedding? Minwo asked. To prove something to your ex? Or to yourself? Amara felt tears prick her eyes and hated herself for it. Both. Neither. I don't know. I can't let him think he destroyed me. I can't let him have that power. Minwo was quiet for a long moment. Then he said something that would change everything. What if you didn't go alone? Amara stared at him. What? What if you didn't go alone? Minwo repeated, his voice steady but his hands fidgeting with the notebook. You want to show your ex you've moved on. I need to. He stopped, jaw tightening. My father is announcing my engagement next month. To C.O. Myri. A woman I've met exactly 4 times. It would be useful for him to see that I have other options. Amara laughed, a sharp bitter sound. So what, we just pretend. Show up at this wedding like we're together and hope that somehow fixes both our problems. Why not? Minwo asked. You get to walk in there with confidence. I get a few more weeks before my life becomes a corporate transaction. Everyone wins. Except that's insane, Amara said. But even as the words left her mouth, she was considering it. The image of walking into that wedding alone versus walking in with someone like Kong Minwo. Wealthy, powerful, exactly the kind of man Daniel's family would approve of. The irony was almost poetic. Think about it, Minwo said, handing her a business card. His personal number was written on the back in the same elegant handwriting she'd seen in his sketches. The wedding is in 2 weeks. That gives us time to make this convincing. That night, Amara lay in bed staring at the card. Chisholm had called her crazy when she'd explained Minwo's offer. You're going to fake date a chaebol heir? Do you watch the same K-dramas I do? This never ends well. But the next morning, Amara found herself texting him. 1 word. Okay. They met at a small cafe in Gwangali Beach, far enough from the corporate district that Minwo could relax slightly. He was different in casual clothes, still expensive, but softer somehow. A black turtleneck and jeans that probably cost more than her rent. So how do we do this? Amara asked, stirring her coffee. Do we need a backstory? How we met? How long we've been together? We met at the gallery, Minwo said. 3 months ago. I was immediately drawn to your work. You thought I was just another corporate sponsor trying to seem cultured. I persisted. You eventually agreed to coffee. Amara raised an eyebrow. You've thought about this. I've been to enough of these events to know what questions they'll ask, Minwo said. Then quieter. And maybe some of that isn't entirely fiction. Something warm flickered in Amara's chest, dangerous and unwelcome. What do you mean? I did notice your work first, Minwo said, meeting her eyes. The piece in the back gallery. The series on displacement and belonging. It's honest in a way most art here isn't. Amara felt exposed suddenly. Those paintings were her most personal work. Studies of Nigerian immigrants in Korea, the invisible women working in factories, teaching English, raising Korean children while their own families were an ocean away. You actually looked at them. I did more than look, Minwo said. I felt them. That's rare. For a moment, they just sat there, the fake dating scheme forgotten. Then Minwo's phone buzzed, his father's name flashing on the screen. The warmth in his expression vanished. I have to go. There's a board meeting. Wait, Amara said. If we're doing this, I need to know something. Why are you really helping me? What do you actually get out of this? Minwo stood, adjusting his jacket. When he looked at her again, there was something raw in his eyes. Time. I get time before I have to become the person my father wants me to be. Before I have to give up the only thing that makes me feel real. He gestured to the notebook in his bag. 2 weeks pretending to be with someone who understands that isn't much. But it's something. Over the next week, they fell into a strange rhythm. Minwo would pick her up after her shifts at the gallery. They'd get coffee, walk along the beach, talk about everything except the wedding. He showed her his sketches, years of hidden work, stored in boxes in a storage unit his family didn't know about. She showed him her work in progress, a massive canvas exploring the intersection of her Nigerian heritage and her Korean present. You paint like you're fighting, Minwo observed one evening in her tiny studio apartment. Chisholm had made herself scarce, leaving them alone surrounded by paint-stained drop cloths and the smell of turpentine. Maybe I am, Amara said. She was working on a self-portrait, but the face kept changing, sometimes defiant, sometimes defeated, never quite complete. Fighting what? The feeling that I don't belong anywhere, Amara admitted. She hadn't meant to say it, but there was something about Minwo that made her honest. In Nigeria, I was too ambitious, too Western. Here, I'm too foreign, too black, too much of everything except Korean. And Daniel. Her voice cracked. Daniel made me feel like I could belong. Until he showed me exactly how conditional that acceptance was. Minwo was quiet, then reached for her paintbrush. May I? She nodded, curious. He dipped it in the titanium white and added careful highlights to the portrait's eyes. Sometimes, he said softly, the fight isn't about belonging. It's about giving yourself permission to exist anyway. Is that what you're doing? Amara asked. With your art. I'm trying, Minwo said. Every sketch feels like rebellion. Every line is proof that I'm more than just my father's legacy. Without thinking, Amara reached out and touched his hand, still holding the brush. Then rebel. Be more. The moment stretched between them, loaded with something neither wanted to name. Then Minwo's phone rang again. Always his father. Always the company. Always the reminder that this was temporary. 3 days before the wedding, Minwo took her shopping. You need a dress, he said. Something that makes a statement. I can't afford. This is part of the performance, Minwo interrupted gently. Let me handle it. The boutique was the kind of place Amara had only ever walked past. The kind where they looked at you a certain way if you didn't arrive in a luxury car. But with Minwo beside her, the staff transformed into simpering perfection. She hated it. Hated how their respect was only for him, how she became visible only in his shadow. But then she saw the dress. Deep emerald green, the color of her mother's favorite wrapper fabric back home. Fitted but not restrictive, elegant without being apologetic. When she stepped out of the dressing room, Minwo's expression shifted, something unguarded crossing his face before he controlled it. "That one," he said, his voice rough. "Definitely that one." In the mirror, Amara barely recognized herself. Not because the dress transformed her, but because the woman staring back looked powerful, unbroken. "Thank you," she whispered. "Don't thank me," Minwo said. "You're doing me a favor too, remember?" But they both knew it had stopped being just a favor somewhere along the way. The night before the wedding, Amara couldn't sleep. She kept imagining walking into that venue, seeing Daniel's face, watching him marry someone else. Even with Minwo beside her, the fear remained. What if she fell apart? What if everyone saw through the facade and recognized her for what she really was? A woman still broken by a man who discarded her like she was nothing. Her phone lit up at 2 in the morning. "Minwo, are you awake?" she called him. "Can't sleep either." "My father found out about tomorrow," Minwo said. His voice sounded strange, strained. "Not about you specifically, but that I'm attending Daniel's wedding. He's insisting I bring Myri. Make an appearance as the proper couple." Amara's stomach dropped. "So we're not." "I told him no," Minwo interrupted. "I told him I already have a date. He's furious. He'll probably be there tomorrow watching." "Minwo, if this is going to cause problems with your family." "Everything causes problems with my family," Minwo said, and she heard him exhale slowly. "Amara, I need you to understand something. Tomorrow isn't just performance anymore. When I walk in there with you, my father will see it as direct defiance. There will be consequences." "Then we shouldn't do this," Amara said, even though the words felt like swallowing glass. "I won't be the reason you lose your family." "You're not the reason," Minwo said quietly. "They are. They've been losing me for years, piece by piece, every time they told me who I had to be. Tomorrow is just the first time I'm admitting it out loud." Amara closed her eyes, phone pressed to her ear. "Are you sure?" "I've never been more sure of anything," Minwo said. "The question is, are you ready? Because once we walk through those doors together, there's no going back. For either of us." The wedding venue was exactly as pretentious as Amara had imagined. A 5-star resort on the coast, all glass and marble and ocean views that probably cost more than her university tuition. Luxury cars lined the circular driveway, Mercedes, BMWs, even a Bentley. Old money and new money mixing in the way only Korean high society could orchestrate. Minwo's driver pulled up in a black Genesis sedan. When he stepped out and opened her door, offering his hand, Amara saw heads turn. She took a breath, smoothed down the emerald dress, and let him help her out of the car. "You look incredible," Minwo murmured, tucking her hand into the crook of his arm. He was devastating in a charcoal suit, tailored perfectly, his hair styled back in a way that made him look older, more commanding. "So do you," Amara managed. Her heart was hammering so hard she thought everyone must hear it. They walked toward the entrance, and the whispers started immediately. Amara caught fragments. "Is that Kong Minwo? Who is she? Is she foreign? I heard his father arranged. But she's..." Minwo's hand tightened on hers. "Ignore them," he said softly. "Eyes on me." Inside, the ceremony space was breathtaking. White roses everywhere, crystal chandeliers, chair covers with silk ribbons. Amara spotted Daniel immediately, standing at the altar in a white tuxedo. He looked happy. Nervous, but happy. And when his eyes found hers, shock rippled across his face. Good, Amara thought. Let him be shocked. They took seats near the back, but their presence was a stone dropped in still water, ripples spreading. People kept turning to stare. Some with curiosity, others with barely concealed disapproval. Amara felt Minwo's hand find hers, their fingers interlacing. "Breathe," he whispered. "You're doing beautifully." The ceremony began. Daniel's bride, Kim So-yeon, was lovely, delicate, graceful, exactly what a traditional Korean bride should be. She wore a traditional hanbok for the entrance, white and red, her hair adorned with ornamental pins. She looked like she belonged in this world in a way Amara never could. "She seems nice," Amara whispered to Minwo. "She does," he agreed. "That's what makes this harder, isn't it? When they're not villains, just people playing the roles they've been assigned." Amara glanced at him. "Is that what Myri is? Nice but assigned." "I don't know," Minwo admitted. "I've never let myself find out." The ceremony ended with applause and tears. The cocktail hour began, guests flowing toward the reception hall. Amara and Minwo moved through the crowd like dancers, his hand never leaving her back, always grounding her. People approached, some to congratulate Daniel, others clearly wanting an introduction to the mysterious woman with Kong Minwo. "Minwo, how wonderful to see you," an older woman cooed, her eyes sharp as she assessed Amara. "And who is your lovely companion?" "This is Amara Ease," Minwo said, his voice warm but formal. "She's an artist. We met at the Modern Gallery." "How exotic," the woman said, and Amara felt the word like a slap. Exotic. Foreign. Other. "How observant," Amara replied smoothly, matching the woman's false sweetness. "I could say the same about your fascinator. Very brave choice." Minwo coughed to cover a laugh. The woman's smile tightened and she moved away quickly. "Did you just insult Mrs. Choi's hat?" Minwo asked, his eyes dancing. "I simply complimented her bravery," Amara said innocently. "Is it my fault if she interpreted that differently?" They found a quiet corner near the bar, and for a moment, Amara let herself relax. Maybe they could do this. Maybe they could survive the evening with dignity intact. Then Daniel appeared. "Amara," he said, his voice tight. "I didn't think you'd actually come." "You invited me," Amara said, keeping her voice level. "Remember? You said it would mean a lot." "I didn't think." Daniel stopped, his eyes moving to Minwo. "Kong Minwo. I didn't realize you two knew each other." "We're together," Minwo said simply, his arms sliding around Amara's waist. "Have been for a few months now." Daniel's face went through several emotions: surprise, confusion, something that looked uncomfortably like jealousy. "Together. You and..." He gestured vaguely at Amara. "Is there a problem?" Minwo asked, his voice cooling. No problem," Daniel said quickly. "It's just surprising. Your father, he's very traditional." "I wouldn't have thought." "My father doesn't control who I spend my time with," Minwo said, each word precise. "And Amara is exceptional. But I suppose you already knew that. And still made your choice." The barb landed. Daniel flushed. "That's not fair. My situation was complicated." "No," Amara said, finding her voice. "It was simple. You chose what was easy over what was right. You chose comfort over courage. And that's fine, Daniel. We all make choices. But don't pretend it was complicated when it was just cowardice." Daniel's mouth opened, closed. He looked like he wanted to argue, but Soyeon appeared at his elbow, beautiful and smiling. "Darling, your parents are asking for us." "Oh, hello." She turned to Amara with genuine warmth. "You must be one of Daniel's university friends. I'm so glad you could come." "Actually," Daniel started, but Amara cut him off. "Something like that," she said, taking Soyeon's offered hand. "Congratulations. You look absolutely beautiful." Soyeon beamed. "Thank you. And your dress is stunning. That color is gorgeous on you." For a moment, Amara saw it, the kindness in this woman's eyes, the innocence. She didn't know that her new husband had loved someone else just months ago, had made promises he'd broken. And maybe she never would. Maybe that was for the best. "Congratulations," Amara repeated, meaning it this time. Then she let Minwo guide her away, feeling lighter somehow. "You okay?" he asked softly. "Yeah," Amara said, surprised to find it was true. Actually, I think I am. They made their way to their assigned table for dinner, and that's when Amara saw him. Chairman Kong, Minwo's father, seated at the VIP table with other corporate heads. And beside him, a beautiful woman in her 20s wearing an elegant cream dress. CEO Myri. Minwo went rigid beside her. He brought her, he said, his voice hollow. He actually brought her. Chairman Kang's eyes found them across the room, and his expression transformed into something cold and furious. He stood, excusing himself from his table, and Amara watched him approach like a storm-gathering force. CEO Myri followed, her face composed but her eyes darting nervously between Minwo and his father. Minwo, Chairman Kong said when he reached them. His Korean was clipped, angry, but he switched to English, probably for Amara's benefit. We need to speak. Privately. Anything you have to say to me, you can say here, Minwo replied, his hand finding Amara's. Father, this is Amara Ease. Amara, my father, Chairman Kong Jinho. Chairman Kong didn't acknowledge her. What are you doing? Myri is here. Your fiancé is here, and you bring. He stopped, his eyes raking over Amara with undisguised contempt. You bring this to a public event? Are you trying to humiliate this family? I'm trying to live my life, Minwo said, his voice steady despite the tension in his shoulders. And Amara isn't this. She's a person. An incredible artist, a kind woman, and someone who sees me as more than just the Kong heir. You foolish boy, Chairman Kong hissed. Do you have any idea what you're risking? The merger with the CEO family, your position in the company, everything we've built. Everything you've built, Minwo corrected. I never asked for any of it. The nearby tables had gone quiet. Everyone was watching now, phones discreetly raised, capturing every moment. Amara felt panic rising in her throat. This was spiraling out of control. She'd wanted to make Daniel uncomfortable, not destroy Minwo's life. Minwo, she said quietly, tugging his hand. Maybe we should. No, Minwo said, looking at her with an intensity that stole her breath. No more hiding. No more pretending to be someone I'm not. He turned back to his father, and when he spoke again, his voice carried across the reception hall. You want to know why I'm here with Amara? Because she's the first person in years who's made me feel like I can breathe. Because when I'm with her, I remember that I'm more than just your legacy. I'm an artist. I'm a person with dreams that don't fit into your corporate plans. And yes, I'm someone who chooses to be with a brilliant, beautiful Nigerian woman, regardless of what you or anyone else in this room thinks about it. The silence was deafening. Chairman Kang's face had gone red, his hands clenched into fists. If you walk out of here with her, if you continue this embarrassment, you're finished. No position in the company. No trust fund. No family support. You'll have nothing. Then I'll have nothing, Minwo said. But at least I'll have myself. CEO Myri stepped forward, her voice soft but clear. Chairman Kong, perhaps we should discuss this privately. This isn't the place. This is exactly the place, Minwo said, but his voice was gentler when he addressed her. Myri, I'm sorry. You deserve someone who actually wants to marry you, not someone fulfilling an obligation. You deserve better than this arrangement. Myri's composure cracked slightly, and Amara saw hurt flash across her face. But there was also something else. Relief. So do you, Myri said quietly. For what it's worth, I hope you find happiness. She turned and walked away with dignity intact, leaving Chairman Kong trembling with rage. You've made your choice, he said to Minwo. Don't come crawling back when reality hits and you realize love doesn't pay the bills. I won't, Minwo said. Chairman Kong left, the crowd parting for him. The whispers exploded immediately, phones buzzing with messages and social media posts. Amara could already see it, the scandal spreading in real time, Minwo's rebellion becoming tomorrow's headline. We should go, Amara said, her voice shaking. Minwo, we should leave. They walked out together, cameras flashing, people staring. Daniel was in the crowd somewhere, but Amara didn't look for him. Didn't care anymore. All she could think about was Minwo's hand in hers and the magnitude of what he'd just sacrificed. In the car, neither of them spoke for a long time. Minwo stared out the window, his jaw tight, his hands trembling slightly. Amara wanted to say something, anything, but every word felt inadequate. "I'm sorry," she finally whispered. "This wasn't supposed to happen like this. You weren't supposed to lose everything." "I didn't lose everything," Minwo said, turning to her. "I lost the things that were suffocating me. There's a difference. But your family, the company, were never really mine," Minwo interrupted. "They were cages dressed up as gifts. You know what I realized in there? Standing beside you, defending you, choosing you? I felt more real than I have in 30 years. Amara's eyes filled with tears. "This was supposed to be fake. We were supposed to just pretend." "I know," Minwo said softly. "But somewhere between the coffee dates and the painting sessions and the late-night calls, it stopped being pretend for me. I don't know when exactly. Maybe it was always real. Maybe I was just too scared to admit it." "Minwo," Amara breathed, her heart hammering. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I don't want this to end after tonight," he said, reaching for her hand. "I'm saying that losing my father's approval was terrifying, but losing you would be unbearable. I'm saying that I'm falling in love with you, and I know it's fast and complicated and probably insane, but it's the most honest thing I've ever felt." Amara couldn't speak, couldn't breathe. She just pulled him toward her and kissed him, pouring 6 months of heartbreak and 2 weeks of pretending and 1 night of revolution into that kiss. He kissed her back like she was oxygen, like she was the answer to questions he'd been too afraid to ask. When they finally pulled apart, both breathing hard, Amara laughed through her tears. "Your timing is terrible. You know that, right? You just blew up your entire life." "Best decision I ever made," Minwo said, grinning. "Though I should probably figure out where I'm living now. Pretty sure my father's changing the locks as we speak." "You can stay with me and Chisholm," Amara offered. "It's tiny and the shower barely works, but it's yours if you want it." "I want it," Minwo said. "I want all of it. The tiny apartment, the broken shower, the life where I get to choose. I want you." 3 months later, Amara stood in a small art studio in Nompodong, surrounded by Minwo's paintings and her own. They'd pooled their savings, his severance package from voluntarily leaving the company, her scholarship money, and opened a gallery together. It wasn't glamorous. The space was small, the neighborhood wasn't fashionable, and they were living off ramen more nights than not. But it was theirs. "What do you think?" Minwo asked, stepping back from his latest piece. It was Amara at the wedding, captured in bold strokes and vibrant colors. She looked powerful, free. "I think it's perfect," Amara said. "I think we're perfect." Outside, the Busan sun set over the harbor, painting the sky in shades of gold and orange. They stood together in the doorway of their tiny gallery, hands intertwined, watching the light change. "Do you ever regret it?" Amara asked. "Giving up everything?" Minwo pulled her closer, pressing a kiss to her temple. "Every morning I wake up next to you, I paint something that comes from my actual soul, and I don't have to pretend to be someone I'm not. So no, not for a second. Even when we can barely afford rent." "Even then," he said. "Especially then. Because this struggle is ours. This life is real. And you," he turned her to face him, "you taught me that freedom is worth more than comfort. That being seen is worth more than being approved of. That love isn't about fitting into someone else's plan. It's about building something new together." Amara kissed him, soft and slow, tasting like happiness and hope and home. Behind them, a customer entered the gallery, their first sale of the day. Then another. And another. The art spoke for itself, raw and honest in a city that often valued polish over truth. Their story was just beginning. If you enjoyed Amara and Minwo's journey from heartbreak to healing, from pretending to truth, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories about love, courage, and choosing yourself. Drop a comment below telling me what moment hit you hardest. Was it the wedding confrontation, the first kiss, or that final sunset? And if you've ever had to choose between what's expected and what's real, I see you. Your story matters too. Until next time, keep choosing courage.